Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are going to dive deep into a beautifully rhythmic Hindi poem dedicated to Zena Cardman. We're going to completely unpack its emotional depth and recurring motifs. Whether you're a massive poetry fan or just someone fascinated by how humans express all-consuming love, you are in for a treat. We'll break down the original text and its translations to see exactly how the author builds this intensely romantic universe from the ground up. Right out of the gate, the poem hits us with this profound realization. Aapki aankhon ne mujhko diya hai, dard ki raaton mein pyar diya hai. The narrator is telling us that a simple, single look from the subject's eyes was essentially the antidote to their immense suffering. It wasn't some grand, sweeping gesture that saved them. It was literally just the sheer power of a gaze that brought love into nights completely defined by agonizing pain. It sets this incredibly vulnerable tone right from the start, making it clear that this love is basically a rescue mission for the narrator's soul. Section 1. The Eyes and the Pain, moving from silence to connection. Think about the narrator's emotional timeline here, because it's a night and day difference. The past is so heavy. It's defined by dard ki raaton, nights of pain, and a profound khamoshi, or silence. It's a state of total, utter isolation. But then, the present reality completely shifts. Suddenly, it's all about being given love, pyar diya hai, and this hopeful action of eventually going to meet her, ek din aapse milne mein chala. The poem's structure itself mirrors this journey from dark to light, beautifully highlighting the stark contrast between an isolated past and a healing connection. And it all comes back to this one specific electric moment. Looking at your eyes, there is a desire in my mind. The sheer act of looking into her eyes gives birth to this deep, undeniable desire. It totally establishes the gaze as the ultimate trigger for the narrator's emotional awakening. It's such a simple cause and effect, right? But it builds the entire foundation for the massive, cosmic devotion that unfolds later in the text. Moving on to Section 2. Dreams in the Silence. The internal world of the narrator. So, let's talk about hwabon, or dreams. It is a really complex dual space in this poem. On one hand, it's this gorgeous, intimate sanctuary of thoughts, a literal, romantic garden of love. Hwabon ke pyar ka baag mein. But at the exact same time, it's a deeply isolating void, where the narrator admits they are completely lonely. Hwabon mein hu mein tanha. It's a brilliant, almost heartbreaking psychological depiction of separated love. The very place you go to be with the person in your mind is the exact place that reminds you they aren't actually there with you. And tucked inside that dreamscape, we get this fascinating line, Teri khamoshi le jaye mera dhyan. Your silence captures my attention. Just think about that for a second. The subject's silence isn't empty. It isn't a lack of communication. Instead, it acts as this incredibly magnetic force that totally hijacks the narrator's focus. The silence itself becomes a physical presence that they obsess over. It shows a level of infatuation where even the total absence of sound from the muse is mesmerizing. Which brings us to a huge paradox. Have you ever felt entirely alone in a crowded room? If these dreams are absolutely packed with thoughts, images, and that mesmerizing silence we just talked about, why is there this desperate plea of isolation? Why feel so alone when your mind is bursting with the person you love? The poem answers that with this agonizing loop, Sapno ke mele mein akela, alone in the carnival of dreams. The intense repetition of this line, literally echoed 5 times in a row, really hammers home that a dream is, at the end of the day, still just a dream. Even in an overwhelming carnival of fantasies, her physical absence leaves the narrator desperately, painfully alone. You can truly feel the immense emotional weight of that solitary chant. Part 3. The Celestial Conversations. Love across the cosmos. At this point, the narrator isn't just speaking to themselves or to the absent subject anymore. They are intimately conversing with the cosmos. The morning rays, subaki kurno, the stars, terong, the moonlit nights, channi rato, these become their celestial confidants. It's like the love is simply too big for the human world, so the narrator recruits the actual sky to help bear the emotional load. And the celestial bodies aren't just a pretty static backdrop here. They are active participants. The morning literally speaks to the stars, subane taron se kaha. The nights speak to other nights, rate kieti raton se. The entire universe is personified, echoing the narrator's devotion back and forth across the sky. It's an incredible image.
This massive cosmic scale directly amplifies the profound human yearning. Against the backdrop of stars chatting with mornings, we have a human mind completely drenched in desires. Khwahishe bhiga haman. The vastness of the nights literally carries the yearning mind away. Raton mein le jaye tarsa haman. The contrast between the infinite swirling cosmos and the localized, intense human suffering elevates the poem to something truly epic. The narrator is just wading through the night, entirely consumed by it all.
Which leads us to our final section, Part 4, Total Devotion to Zena, the final surrender. We can basically map out the exact anatomy of this surrender. Step 1. The heart yields to the pain of longing, manjai. It just stops fighting. Step 2. The mind becomes entirely hyper-focused, desiring only her specific qualities and words, man chahe. And finally, Step 3. The ultimate surrender. The ego dissolves, lost entirely in the act of waiting for her, terra intizar megai. The waiting itself basically becomes their new reality. But then, out of all that complex cosmic imagery, the talking stars, the gardens of dreams, the endless nights, the author distills everything into this one pure direct confession. Pyar se kehna hai tujhe. Tarian naam se mohabbat hai mujhe. I have to say it with love. I am in love with your name. It's so incredibly raw. After traveling across the universe in their mind, the narrator realizes the devotion is tied to the very identity, the literal syllables that make up the subject. And it all culminates right here, in the powerful, rhythmic chanting of her name. Zena Cardman. Zena Cardman. It acts as the literal heartbeat of the poem. This name functions as the ultimate anchor for the narrator's entire existence. Everything else we've talked about, the pain, the stars, the silence, it all revolves around the gravitational pull of this single identity. So to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to really chew on. What does such profound, singular devotion truly cost the narrator? When you surrender your heart, your mind, and project your longing across the literal universe, what does that reveal about the dangerous, yet awe-inspiring, all-consuming power of love? Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, and keep exploring the depths of the words around you.